Yo, so guys, welcome back to another LEMMiNO reaction, and this one isn't the typical sort of video I do when I see his channel, but I'm going to get back to his documentary style videos, but I just sort of saw this pop up, and I've been looking, in videos in the past, I sort of scroll through his channel, and I see sort of posts that he's done and just this kind of stuff, and I just sort of thought maybe I should check out some of his top 10 videos, because the thing with his channel is before he started getting into those documentary style videos, he was like a top 10 type channel. And obviously a lot of those videos as well are very successful, like the top 10 ones especially, like got a lot of views on those. So I mean, maybe I should check more of those ones out. But I just sort of thought about this one, and again, if you want to see more of these top 10 ones from LEMMiNO or other channels, let me know. I don't know how people feel about top 10 type videos, but I find it quite interesting, and especially when it's LEMMiNO, you know it's going to be coming with some genuine interesting facts, and not just some just stupid commentary or just whatever, just people talking about things that are irrelevant kind of thing. I don't know, but I'm interested in this one. I do love LEMMiNO videos, and yeah, let's just check this one out. Quick shout out to my Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description for those. Same for my second channel, links are all there for those who want to follow and subscribe to the second channel. And yeah, let's just get into this one, man.
Just let me know.
This year, some 57 million people are expected to cease existence and revert back to their natural state of non-existence.
This is 3 years back. So, and this is probably increasing, isn't it? Because the higher the population, the more this will happen. But that's a lot. But then when you realise the growth and how many people are born, it sort of balances its way out. Like, it doesn't balance its way out. A lot more people are born than people will die. That's how population grows, isn't it? So stupid. But 40 million people, goddamn.
Commonly defined as death. Roughly 2/3 will die of a mysterious and as of yet incurable disease known as aging. Well, technically and medically speaking, old age is not in and of itself lethal, but it nonetheless weakens your body so as to make you less capable of combating that which is. Nevertheless, death as a result of age-related conditions is clouded in mystery, as we have yet to discern precisely why we age. Current understanding implies no singular element commands the aging process, but rather a combination of multiple interconnected factors. For example, the limits imposed by telomeres on cell division implies obsolescence may be programmed into our DNA. Manipulation of specific genes in other animals and organisms can have drastic effects on the aging process. Furthermore, numerous studies have evinced that calories accelerates aging, and thus less food could potentially extend longevity. So stop eating and you'll live forever.
But food is so good, and also it's to a level, isn't it? If you just stop eating, you're gonna die. But I guess it's just like not overeating a lot, eating the same kind of calories every day. I guess that's the way forward. But I want to enjoy my food. You know what? Sometimes I just want to eat and pig out. So I mean, if you want to die a few years earlier, but you get a couple more McDonald's in your mouth and just stuff like that, it's worth it in my opinion. It's just as long as it's not to get to a level where it's going to affect me in my daily life kind of thing.
Who eats a burger that way? On the opposite side...
That's actually true. It's such a weird way to eat. What the fuck? Bro, just use your hands, man. What are you doing?
Who eats a burger that way? On the opposite side of the spectrum, aging may simply be a result of accumulative damage and waste. While the human body is capable of maintaining and repairing itself, the processes responsible are not infallible. Over time, an accumulation of separately insignificant failures may collectively become significant so as to sporadically degrade various bodily functions. If gerontologists do manage to isolate the precise nature of aging, we may one day be able to decelerate, prevent, or even reverse the process.
That's crazy, man.
Hanging has been a common method of both suicide and homicide ever since the invention of rope and human necks. Today, hanging is primarily associated with hanging from a noose, but the word may also describe crucifixion, impalement, or just a general state of suspension upon death. At some point, or more likely over an extended period of time, coroners and others remarked that male hanging victims often died with priapism, which is a medical way of saying they frequently died with an erection. In fact, it is the belief of some historians that not one but two poles were erected upon the crucifixion of Jesus Christ,
What?
and that some artistic renditions of his divine likeness was more accurately hung than others. Though thy holy loins was frequently covered with drapes like the Renaissance version of pixelization, so the state of his majesty can merely be inferred. In any case, this discovery gradually evolved into a treatment for erectile dysfunction, as non-lethal strangulation produces the same effect, which in turn evolved into erotic asphyxiation. The exact physiological cause is not entirely clear, but a general inhibition of normal brain activity due to pressure or injury to the brain or spinal cord appears to be responsible.
What the fuck?
The fear of death
Did not
is
expect
known
that.
as thanatophobia, and fearing the end of our existence can be so overwhelming that many seek any explanation that promises continuation in place of termination. In other words, an afterlife. As far as science is concerned, death is the cessation of brain activity followed by natural decomposition of the body. One could argue that death is merely the absence of life, much like a shadow is the absence of light. But who is this science to tell us what to believe when we could ask those brought back to life after death? Between 10 to 20% of cardiac arrest survivors recall near-death experiences, memories from when they were clinically dead and thus unconscious. Revived persons often report similar experiences, such as a strong sense of peace, love, and happiness, the perception of one's dead body from an outside perspective, a review of one's life experiences, interactions with deceased loved ones or supernatural entities, and a light at the end of a dark tunnel. Studies have found that these experiences are largely culture dependent. For example, Christians are more likely to perceive angels, while Hindus are more likely to perceive gods of the underworld.
Oh my
Entities
days.
who escort the deceased towards an afterlife are known as psychopumps. But you are neither more nor less likely to have a near-death experience.
That is so interesting to me. As in, like your culture and what you're brought up around, or your beliefs or whatever, will actually like be sort of not actually, but like people who have sort of suffered near-death experience or have been clinically dead and then managed to come back to life have actually experienced their sort of own beliefs in what will happen after they pass away, basically. So for me, I'm fucked because I don't believe in anything. I don't really think about death, to be honest. I mean, these videos definitely don't help me not think about it, but I guess maybe having a belief will actually help you in certain ways. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling, but it is just interesting to me how like your beliefs genuinely do affect you, with even like when you're clinically dead or however they say it. That's really interesting to me. It is, because it obviously shows there's a lot of sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for, like, I can't think of the word, but basically like just what I've said it already, basically I can't find the exact word. What you're brought up around and what your sort of beliefs are will genuinely affect you when you've passed away, or when they're clinically dead. I guess it is a bit different because maybe there's still some form of life there, but it's still interesting to even see that and people's perspectives from those situations.
Just because you are
hiccups
religious,
then.
as NDEs by atheists and others are just as common. Many find comfort in these reports, as they may serve as affirmation of a life beyond, but it's worth pointing out that clinical death is not the same as what most of us perceive as death.
Okay.
The reason you can be revived when clinically dead is that while your heart and breathing may have ceased, your brain is still active. It is only once your brain activity stops that you are legally dead, and no one has ever returned from this stage of complete cessation.
Oh wow. Well, that's not an exciting thought then, is it?
While humans may be stuck with pathetic mortal bodies, some animals have transcended this futile existence and exhibit biological immortality. One such creature is the Immortal Hydra. Hydras are tiny freshwater animals that look like miniature octopuses. While humans and our sad excuse of a body grows weaker with age, the Hydra is just as strong playing bingo as when it graduated high school. In other words, they show no signs of aging nor the adverse effects commonly associated with it.
Okay.
While its regenerative properties are poorly understood, the hope is for an improved understanding to aid in our quest for human immortality. Other creatures exhibiting some form of biological immortality include various species of jellyfish, lobsters, and flatworms.
Really? What the hell?
There's a unit of measurement known as a micromort. The name is a portmanteau of the words micro and mortality and measures the probability of sudden death in any given context. One micromort means the probability of death is 1 in 1 million. For example, approximately 1 out of every 150,000 skydiving attempts in the US result in death, which means that skydiving is rated at roughly 7 micromorts per jump. In order to be exposed to 1 micromort of risk, you would have to ride a bike for 10 kilometers, drive a car for 400 kilometers, or fly with commercial airlines for 10,000 kilometers. Doing something as simple as getting out of bed at 90 years of age will expose you to a daily dose of over 300 micromorts.
What the Bro, that really puts into perspective,
Deadliest job in America is said to be the presidency, which clocks in at a staggering 186,000 micromorts.
Bruh.
Which is why I decided to make videos on the internet instead.
I respect it, I respect it.
In most cultures, death is associated with a specific personification and commonly takes the shape of the Grim Reaper, a skeleton cloaked in a dark robe carrying a scythe used to reap the souls of the dead. But some ancient cultures personified death in a much less menacing fashion. For example, the ancient Greeks worshipped a god of death known as Thanatos. He was often depicted as a bearded man or a child with wings that merely guided the human soul into the afterlife. In other words, a psychopomp. The Egyptian god Osiris was depicted as a man with green skin and was more often revered than feared. This modern depiction of a menacing skeleton or demon can largely be attributed to the most devastating pandemic humanity has ever faced, the Black Death. This horrifying medieval plague may have reduced the European population by as much as 60% and consequently gave rise to a more dismal depiction of the Grim Reaper as to more accurately reflect the hopelessness and dismality of this plague. Well, most depictions at least. Sometimes death is just ecstatic to play some mortal board games. Just look at that face. That is the face of a skeleton ready to play some chess.
Hvem er du?
What the
Jeg er døden.
What the fuck?
There's a rare mental disorder known as Qatar Syndrome, and persons afflicted often deny the existence of one or multiple body parts, but in some extreme cases patients deny that they themselves exist, and paradoxically come to believe that they are dead. Named after French neurologist Jules Qatar, in 1880 he described a middle-aged woman who believed her body was completely hollow, with the exception of her skin and bones. As such, she insisted she didn't need to eat and eventually died of starvation.
What?
Strangely enough, victims of this disorder often believe themselves to be immortal, as from their delusional perspective, you can't die if you're already dead. Can't really argue with that logic. A more recent case from 2012 describes a man who, after suffering a stroke, grew convinced he was dead. He told his doctor, I guess I'm dead. I'd like to ask for your opinion. But when asked if he believed it possible for a dead man to speak, he recognized the contradiction, yet paradoxically maintained his belief of non-existence. He further elaborated, I feel I am dead, but I'm talking with you in this world. I do not know whether I am alive or not. I am unable to realize that I'm alive. A few months later, his condition fortunately improved and he no longer believed himself to be dead, yet he maintained that he once had been. Oh, and he also believed that Kim Jong-il was a patient at the same hospital. Naturally. In 2007, a middle-aged man in Bosnia decided to fake his own death in an effort to uncover how many friends and family members would attend his funeral. Unfortunately for him, only one person attended his fake service, and that person was his mother.
Bro, that is depressing as hell. See, that is actually sad, man. I mean, the fact that you even got to do that is sad in itself. So what you're doing yourself is just wrong. Completely wrong. But at the same time, one person turns up. That's going to make you end up wanting to just not be alive, isn't it? That's going to fuck you up. One person going to a funeral, that is pain, bro. What the hell?
The thing is, this is a quite common fear because no one wants to die alone, and if no one attends your funeral, then that's likely to have been the case.
Is that a thing that people worry about? Like, I don't really worry about that kind of stuff. I don't really think about. I feel like a lot of people don't even think about it, but I didn't even know that was sort of like a fear from people. Like how many people attend their funerals. It's interesting how different people have different thoughts and like different worries in life, man. It really is.
Actually, I'm surprised there isn't a specific phobia for dying alone, so let's create one. Okay, thanatophobia is the fear of dying, and monophobia is the fear of being alone. So naturally, monatophobia is the fear of dying alone. Anyway, the fear of a lack of funeral attendees is so common that in the UK you can preemptively pay a company known as Rent a Mourner to have random persons attend your funeral and act as if they mourn your passing.
Bro, what? Why? I mean, it's sad that that's the case. I guess it is, like, in terms of like how it is, it's just sad. Like, I feel for the people who have to do that. But like, you have to rent just random people. I mean, fair enough. I did not know that was a thing, but god damn. That is wild to me, man. That's wild. The UK as well. It's not even like some other countries. The UK. The UK, man.
In early 1921, an American named Thomas Bradford decided he was going to prove the existence of an afterlife. In order to realize such an impossible task, Bradford reasoned that the most logical course of action would be for him to commit suicide and then communicate the existence of an afterlife from beyond the grave. He began by publishing a newspaper advert in search for a spiritualistic accomplice that would remain alive and wait for the spirit of Bradford to return from the dead, thus undeniably ascertain a different plane of existence. A foolproof plan, or at least a woman named Ruth Doran thought so as she quickly responded to Bradford's advert. After a few meetings of what I can only imagine must have consisted of intense scrutinization of this ingenious plan, Bradford took his own life on the 5th of February 1921, with the full intention of returning to this plane of existence and relay any juicy details about the world beyond to his lively accomplice. A week later, Doran claimed she had actually been in contact with the ghost of Bradford, and this is some of what he had to say. "I am the professor who speak to you from the beyond. I have broken through the veil. I woke up and at first did not realize that I had passed on. I find no great change apparent. I expected things to be much different. They are not. Human forms are retained in outline, but not the physical. I have not traveled far. I am still much in the darkness. I see many persons. They appear natural. There is a lightness of responsibility here unlike in life. One feels full of rapture and happiness."
See, that's one of those things that it's just like, it's so hard to sort of fabricate this kind of stuff. It's hard to believe. It really is to me, but it is still, I mean, it's crazy that someone would even do this, I'm not going to lie. But it's still interesting. I mean, I'd take this stuff with a pinch of salt, especially when it's someone else giving their perspective, but it's just crazy how someone would do that. That's the wildest thing to me, man. That's crazy, bro.
Make of that what you will.
Yeah.
As previously mentioned, a complete lack of brain activity is, according to modern medical science, the point of no return. Once your brain dies, there is no chance of revival. But some disagrees with this view of death and argues that as long as the brain is left intact, it should be possible to restore brain activity at a later date, at least theoretically. While no one has ever returned from complete brain cessation, it is plausible that future medical advances could allow for that to happen, and this mere plausibility is enough for some individuals to literally put their body on ice in the hopes that in
this stuff makes... Wait, what the hell is it?
The future they can be unfrozen and resurrected, a practice known as Cryonics.
Is that's not a real body, is it? That's just some equipment that they use to sort of test it out. Because if that's some real body, that's gonna make me cringe, man. I hate looking at like sort of medical procedures or whatever, man. They make me feel
The first person to be
queasy, to say the least.
cryopreserved was an American by the name of James Bedford, who in 1967 died of cancer and was subsequently frozen. Over 250 individuals have since undergone this expensive procedure, and thousands more plan on joining them. The question is this a form of suspended animation or a freezer for corpses? In 2016, scientists successfully restored a frozen rabbit brain to near perfect condition, demonstrating that sub-zero preservation is feasible.
That is fucking crazy. But there's a but. What's the but going to be?
The next issue is revival. While some microscopic animals have successfully been frozen, unfrozen, and revived, larger mammals like ourselves are significantly more complex. In any case, cryonics is currently one of the most plausible methods of escaping death. So while there is some tangible hope for the future to save us from the cruelty of non-existence, the present will, for the time being, remain a dystopian netherworld filled with pain, suffering, Denmark death, and despair.
Say it, yeah? I mean, it's an interesting video, man. I do find these things so like just crazy, man. I really enjoyed this. I didn't expect these top 10 sort of videos to be so interesting, but they are. At my funeral, I want to be strung up to the ceiling in the zip line around the room, high-fiving people, while Alice Cooper's School for Summer plays. I was clinically dead instead of legally dead, so I got arrested for not being legally dead. The sentence was death. Stop eating and you'll live forever. What a shame. Gandhi nearly acquired immortality. You know, maybe the number of deaths this year is going to be a little higher than 57 million. Don't know why, though. Paying people to attend your funeral is more depressing than people... No, that's what I'm thinking, man. That is so depressing to me. Paying people to attend your... That's so weird. I've never even heard of that. I feel bad for the guy who fakes his death and only had his mum to attend his funeral. Honestly, who eats a burger that way? But I was not expecting that. Honestly, though, I saw that. I was like, wait, what the fuck? When you think about it, life is just sexually transmitted disease with 100% mortality rate. I hate people, man. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. More LEMMiNO on the way, more top 10s on the way if you want those reactions. But yeah, about waffling too much. Until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.